Welcome back to eDiscovery Divided, video series where we take opposing view on the same topic. Today we want to talk about working with a large or a small vendor. I'm sure you heard people express their opinion whether they want to work with a larger company or maybe small, like a mom and pop shop for their eDiscovery needs. And I heard arguments for and against each one of them. So today I want to talk about that. The first argument people bring up in favor of working with smaller eDiscovery vendors is flexibility. They say those companies are more flexible in accommodating clients' requests. Now, I worked for a smaller vendors through my entire eDiscovery career, and I would say the smaller the company I worked for, the more flexible it was personally for me. So if I needed computers, servers, I needed something, I would just go to the owner's office, kick down the door, and I say, hey, we gotta talk. And we talked, and we pretty much always came up with some kind of resolution where I would get what I need, or we had some kind of plan. In bigger companies that I worked at, there was always a lot of this back and forth, and I'll talk to them, they'll talk to them, maybe we'll get together next week, and nothing would ever get resolved. So in my experience, smaller companies did have more flexibility when it comes personally to me. People who argue against it say the bigger companies is where true flexibility is. So while small company may be able to make some quicker decisions faster, it doesn't really matter because bigger companies can make real-world big decisions for big clients in big cases. Let's say you need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in something, people, equipment, something else. Well, the bigger companies are more flexible because they have access to that money and they're able to accommodate those requests better. So bigger companies is where true flexibility is. Another point people bring up in favor of working with smaller companies is you get more personalized service. You know everybody in the company. When you call up project managers, you know who you're going to be speaking to. It's either your personal project manager or maybe a team of 2 or 3 people. They know story of your case, they know what's going on, and they're able to better accommodate whatever your request is. You don't have to be explaining to somebody for like 15 minutes what were you trying to do earlier and trying to, explain what the history of something is. These people already know, they know you, and it's easier to work with them to get done what you need to get done. But people who argue against it could just easily say that a bigger company could have smaller silos. So when you call a big company, there might be a small team that's handling your requests, and they could be just as personalized and as knowledgeable of your case. How about faster response? Some people say that when you have small job, let's say you need to add like 15 PDFs to your case and you're working with a small vendor, you can just email them like, hey, can you get this loaded real quick for me? I need this in a rush, and they'll be able to kind of jump right on it and get it loaded. Maybe a project manager says, don't worry, I'm going to walk over right to the EDG tech, make sure they take your job next, and they'll get it done like in 15 minutes and you'll have your data done. But bigger company, they have a lot more complicated process for data intake. So if you send even 20 PDFs, they still have to create like an intake form, have you sign off on it, have to go through a QA validation process, things like that. So there's a lot more in between steps before data actually gets loaded. So working with a smaller vendor, you can get small sets of data loaded quicker, which translates into you working faster and getting little tasks that are required in your case much, much faster. But those who work for a bigger company will argue, who cares about that? Where it matters is speed on the larger cases. Bigger companies have more capacity as far as people and resources to get larger jobs processed faster. So while the smaller jobs may not be as quick, it's the multi-terabyte projects where it matters, and that's where you need the speed. And this is where bigger companies shine. And finally, let's talk pricing. Some will say smaller companies are better at negotiating. They can come up with a better, more tailored price to your specific case, so you get the best value for your money. But while smaller companies aren't going to negotiate much on the smaller cases, they have more flexibility to negotiate on the larger cases. So when you have an absolutely huge case, then you can bring it up to a company that's more sizable and explain to them what your issues are and what the cost situation is, and come up with a better plan and come up with possibly even pricing that even smaller company wouldn't be able to match. Now, I've been working for a vendor my whole e-discovery career, and I never really send much work to other vendors. So believe it or not, I don't have an opinion on this matter. But if you do, please put it in the comment section below. Let me know if my points and counterpoints are valid. And if you had to send your work, would you prefer to work with a larger e-discovery vendor or a smaller one? Thank you for checking out this video. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you next time.